Hi, Algebra 2A. So I wanted to go ahead and put together a little piece of video. If you were not in class on Thursday, or if you were on the Google Meet and maybe didn't get a chance to get started or didn't understand what we were doing, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of see what we did together in class, all in one place, so that you can turn in this assignment and pick up some extra points for the class. So this is a do-it-yourself systems of linear equations activity. And so where we started was you go to the assignment, right? And where it says activity, do a file, make a copy, go ahead and click on that link, and it's going to go ahead and open up this file for you. And most of you guys by now, I think, are pretty familiar with how to do a file, make a copy. You go to the file menu, click down and make a copy, and then entire presentation. What's going to happen is a dialog box is going to pop up, and it's going to allow you to rename this. All I want you to do is click here and go ahead and back out of copy of and type your name in there, right? And then go ahead and click OK. And then that'll go ahead and save your copy in your drive, right? And so then you'll be able to go and edit it. So we did a warm up and kind of walk through a couple of different typical scenarios that show up in these word problems involving systems. And this is the first one that we looked at. So my friends and I went to a restaurant and ordered 24 hamburgers and cheeseburgers, and the bill came out to $68. It says if each cheeseburger was $2.50 without cheese and $3 with cheese, how many of each were ordered? So let's kind of think about what's going on here. The first thing is we want to look at in our word problem. So typically you're going to have two pieces of information. You're going to know something about the total number of items, and you'll know something about the cost. So in here we see there's 24 hamburgers and cheeseburgers. And so we want to write an equation that shows that. So we're going to pick whatever variable we want. And in class, they decided on B for burgers and C for cheeseburgers. And then in the word problem, how many were there? Well, there were 24 people who were there. And like in our real world, there's always that goof that eats like 3 cheeseburgers. But in this word problem, apparently not involving high school kids, everybody's having only one. So there was 24 kids there altogether, right? That's what it said. So we know there was 2 kinds of things, and we know the total amount of things they are. So whatever variables we want, one variable plus the other variable equals the total number. Okay, that's typically one of the equations you're going to write. The next thing that happens is you usually know something about the cost of each item and then the total amount of money, or you know something about how many of each item, and then you're asked to work backwards to get the cost, and you're told the total amount. So in this case, we're told that every burger was $2.50. So if I want to know how much money was spent on burgers, I take the number of burgers times 250. So how would I write that as an algebra expression? 2.5 times B. Every cheeseburger was $3. I'm going to follow the same process. How do I write an algebra expression to show that some number of cheeseburgers were purchased and they were $3 each, and it shows the total amount? 3 times C. And the total amount that was spent was $68. So these are the first 2 equations. So on your third screen there, one of the things it asks you to do is to write the system of equations for the burger scenario. So we worked this out together in class and had the students type this in here. So you would type in here under equation 1, and then equation 2. The next screen asks you to solve this. So by whatever method you want. Well, I don't think we want to try and graph this thing. That looks kind of messy. But I can see that it would be pretty easy to do substitution. Solve this equation for one variable or the other, doesn't matter. Or by elimination. So I would multiply this first equation by -3, add these together. That would eliminate my C's, and then I could go from there. So that part is totally up to you. There's an extra step involved with each one. If I do substitution, I'm going to need to do the distributive property, because I'm substituting in an algebra expression here in place of C. Or if I do elimination, I'm going to have to multiply this first equation by -3. Okay? I'll show you substitution. So B plus C equals 24. So subtract B on both sides, and C equals -B plus 24. So this expression goes into this equation in place of C. So I have 2.5 B plus 3 times opposite of B plus 24 equals 68. So 3 times -B is -3B. 3 times 24 is 72 equals 68. So I have -1/2 B plus 72 equals 68. Subtract 72, subtract 72. All right. So when we divide both sides by -1/2, B turns out to be equal to 8. So now I need to know what's C if B is 8. So I substitute 8 in place of B. And then C equals 16. So I have 8 hamburgers. So remember, when you're solving word problems, you don't want to just leave the variables. You want to answer the question that was asked. So how many hamburgers and cheeseburgers? 8 hamburgers, 16 cheeseburgers. All right. So that's how that one is going to look. And so I asked you to go ahead and show the steps to solve the equation here on this screen. If you want to type it in, that's fine. If you want to go ahead and take a snap and then insert that as a picture, you can do that as well. So here's the assignment. Here's what I'm asking you to do. So we just had this scenario about burgers and cheeseburgers. We're given a little bit more information, but basic burgers and cheeseburgers. I'm asking you to come up with your own word problem for 2 different situations. And you're going to use your imagination to create the word problem. So you're going to come up with how many things got sold and how much they cost and so forth. You'll write your 2 equations for the system, and then you will solve the system by any method that you wish. Okay? What I'd like for you to do is to do the work on your own paper and go ahead and insert the photo into the slides. But what quite a few people had done is they did a text box, which is this icon right here. And you go ahead and drag where you want that. And then you can type in there, type your word problem, blah, blah, blah. So that's your job. So here's the scenarios. Scenario 1, at a bake sale, students sell cupcakes and cookies. Scenario 2, in a jar at home, you have some nickels and some quarters. Scenario 3, a band sells beanies and hoodies at its merch stand. Scenario 4, a lot like what you saw in the warm-up, a movie theater sells adult tickets and student tickets. And scenario 5, 2 numbers have a sum and a difference. Also, there was an example in the warm-up for that one. Don't use that example for the warm-up because the answers come out to be fractions and you don't want that. So if you're trying to decide which of these to do, the easiest one to do is number 5. 2 numbers have a sum and a difference. So 2 numbers add up to 70, blah, blah, blah. And when I subtract them, I get 18. Okay? And then you write the 2 equations. And it's pretty straightforward. X plus y equals da. X minus y equals da. Okay? Second easiest one to do is the nickels and quarters because you don't need to make up prices. You already know nickels are 5 cents, quarters are 25 cents. So I have a jar at home and it has, $62 in it. And there's a total of, 187 coins. How many of each? Okay. And write your equations for that. That one does involve some decimals. So if you're not a decimal person, you might want to bypass that. Scenario 1, 3, and 4, all very similar. You're going to come up with a price for each of those two items and a total amount of sales. And you're going to have to come up with a total amount of things that were sold. So 125 cupcakes and cookies, or at the merch stand, they sold a total of 70 beanies and hoodies, or whatever it is. And then you write your two equations. Okay. So when you finish this, remember, Google is going to save all the time. So you don't have to worry about saving this. And then when you made the copy, you gave it a name. So ideally, you put your name in place of copy of, right? And then you go to your Google Classroom, and there's going to be a button that says add with a plus sign. And when you're submitting something to me, a Google Doc or slides or whatever, add plus sign, you'll be able to search your drive for the name of this, select, and turn it in that way. And then that'll be that. So I've got to be actually in the building tomorrow for some cleanup work and so forth and so on, some packing up, and also for some PD. But I will have my live office hours. So if you have questions about this, keep your eyes peeled on Google Classroom for that. The other thing I wanted to point out is right here in the Google Classroom assignment, I went ahead and I put a file, the photo of the work for the burger problem and the equations that we came up with when we worked on it in class. So if that helps, you can use that as well. All right. So good luck with this. Have fun with this. Do some good math work. I saw some great stuff here in class, and I know you guys will too, that are working on this from home.